So welcome to our next video lesson on engineering mechanics subject, and we are discussing about the simple stress and strains. So we have discussed something about stress, what is stress and what is strain. So on this class means on the completion of this period, you will be able to understand the salient features of stress strain diagram. Of course, we have started in last class. Okay, we had something about we have discussed in the last lesson, last session. So we have discussed about the some salient features. Now let us continue the previous one. So let us discuss some more points on this one, and also let us recap whatever we have discussed also. So let's recap it. So let us discuss about the uh, in last class we have discussed about the strain stress. In previous classes means in the first class of our this simple stress sensing we have discussed about the stress. So what is stress? Stress is nothing but it's an internal resistance developed in a body per unit area due to externally applied loads, right? And concept also we have discussed so in detail, right? Now again once again I want to tell about what is stress and strain. When a load is applied, right, when a load is applied on a body, so let us say this is a body, for example a simple body I'm taking. Let us say one side it is fixed, rigidly fixed, for example, and another side a load is applied, let us say tensile load. That can be any load, just I'm taking a tensile load. So if you apply load, what happens initially, this length increases. Okay, the length of the bar increases, right? The length of the bar increases because due to the tensile load there will be elongation will be there. Okay, elongation means increase in length. Okay, so this is nothing but that's what we are calling as a deformation or change in length. Okay, so let us say if you take it as this is delta L and this one as L. Initial length is L and this one is delta L, right? So delta L and change in length L, right? So now let us say this load is P, right? So on application of the load, first what happens, this force will try to pull the member. Okay, along its force it try to pull the member along the direction of the force, along the direction of the application of force. If it is away from the body, it creates an elongation. If you pulls the body towards the, if you same force if act towards the body, then it is nothing but compressive force. Okay, means it try to compress the body, means it get contracted, right? If it is compressive force, contraction will be there. If it is a tension for tensile force is there, then it is elongation will be there, right? Right, that whatever length beyond this due to the application of load, if it is that body is elongated, for example let us say that is delta L, right? Then let us say this is delta L and initial length is L, right? So due to, because this by virtue of its property of the material, by virtue of the property of the material, the initially up to certain stage the material offers resistance, okay, before undergoing any deformation. Initially straight away there will not be any deformation. Okay, so let us say if we are applying a load of very lesser load, so initially the body may not undergo any deformation or change in length. Okay, there will be some, because of this internal resistance will not allow the body to will not allow the body to change that deformation. Okay, change in length will not allowed by the internal resistance. If the internal resistance is very higher, more than, so more than the force, so then what happens, there will not be any deformation. Still the load is applying, we are applying load, but that load is not sufficient to change the length of the body or deformation, not allowing the deformation. Okay, so the that whatever the resistance means for the, when a force is applied, right? So if it is the body is whether it is deforming or not deforming, of course initially if the load is very lesser, so there will not be any deformation will be there. If the load is go on increasing, so obviously there will be deformation will be there, right? So deformation will be there, that whatever the deformation, that will be developed. Against this deformation, there is some internal resistance is developed by virtue of the material property, or it can be anything. Okay, so it is some right. So that internal resistance, whatever that is developed, okay, due to application of this load, there may be deformation is there. Because of the deformation, to avoid the deformation, there will be some internal, the body resist in induces some resistance. Okay, that induced resistance means internal resistance that is developed in a body for unit area. Okay, we are calling it as a stress. Okay, that's what we have defined so far, right? It's already several times we have discussed. Now let us not go into that again. So next one is strain. Strain is nothing but, so whatever that, when a body is undergoing change in length delta L, let us say that delta L by L, we are calling it as a stress. Delta L by L is nothing but a, this is nothing but strain. E, let us say epsilon or E or whatever it is, right? And whereas the stress is equal to, stress, the term, what term we use? We use two terms generally, sigma and F, right? Sigma is nothing but P by A. Okay, sigma is equal to P by A. This is nothing but stress, and this is nothing but strain, right? Stress by strain. Okay, so strain is the change in length per unit original length of the member due to uniform stresses produced by axial loads. Due to this axial load, there is a uniform deformation. Uniform deformation is nothing but, so uniform stresses is nothing but, when it is subjected to, it is axial load only, then only the elongation will be. If it is acting only one side like this, then there will be a complete different scenario. Okay, so it is, in that case it is different. When the axial load is acting, then only this will be, this whatever we are discussing about this delta will be uniform throughout its cross section, right? So that's what we have discussed, stress and strain so far. Now let us go to the Hooke's law. Of course, we have discussed about the Hooke's law. So Hooke's law, what is the Hooke's law? Very important criteria, again, concept, that is Hooke's law. Within elastic limit, the stress is proportional to the strain. Okay, within elastic limit, and the stress is proportional to the strain. That's what we have discussed in the last class, right? So if stress is proportional to strain, if you remove the proportionality, then it will be, you will get a proportionality constant. That proportionality constant, we are calling it as a Young's modulus, right? So Young's modulus is nothing but stress is proportional to strain, right? If you remove this proportional limit, so it is nothing but we will get a constant. That constant is nothing but a proportionality constant, and we are calling it as a Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. This E is nothing but proportionality constant. We are calling it as a Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity, right? So very important term. So it depends on material property. Completely it is material property. For different materials, different Young's modulus will get. For a wood, it is different. For a, again, wood also different types of woods, different types of Young's modulus. They, okay. And if steel is there, mild steel Young's modulus is different, and concrete it is different. So like that, it is each material will have the different Young's modulus values. Okay. So this Young's modulus values, generally for mild steel it is equal to 2 into, generally 2 to 2.210 kilonewton per millimeter square. That's the value, general value of what is what we say, it's means 2 into, generally it is value ranges from 2 to 2.1 into 10 to the power of 5, right? So 10 to the power of 5 Newton per mm square. That's a normal range of your Young's modulus, right? Normal range of Young's modulus for the mild steel disease, right? Most of the steels will have around this the same range, right? So mild steel will generally, it is 2, generally some places it is assumed 2, at some places it is 2.10. It's a normal range of your Young's modulus of the steel, right? Now let us go to the actual today's topic. Again, stress strain diagram. So this stress strain diagram, we have discussed something about the already in the previous class, some points. Let us quickly recap whatever we have discussed, and let us complete the remaining term. So many of the mechanical properties material can be studied with the conducting a tensile stress. So whatever tensile stress, this is tensile stress is nothing but, this test is conducted on a specimen in a machine called as a universal testing mission, right? So in universal testing mission, this test is conducted, right? So using this, from this test, some of the properties can be found out, okay, studied, we can say. Okay, so mechanical properties means like a Young's modulus, we can find out there's a mechanical property. I mean, mega strength, tensile strength. What is the tensile strength of that material? We can able to find out. So like some of the properties can be studied. Okay, from the given stress strain diagram, drawing the stress strain diagram for a particular type of specimen. Right, the tensile stress on a specimen of material conducted by universal testing machine (UTM), generally we called as. Right, of course, we are in this case we are considering only the mild steel, of course, not about other things. So because each and every material has its own stress strain curve, okay, stress strain diagram. For each material, it is different. Okay, right. So in this case, in this we are consider only bothered about the only mild steel, not for the right mild steel assessment under tension test, and we are drawing a graph that we are calling the stress strain graph. So generally it is considered a specimen of length equal to gauge length, means between this length we measure the whatever the change in length or it is change in length we are measuring between the 2 points, that is called that length is nothing but we are calling it as a gauge length. Okay, the length of the portion of the test specimen over which the deformations are measured is known as a gauge length. Okay, so between these two lengths, how much length we have to take, so that will be given in a separate one more testing procedures are there, that is separate IS code is there for how to test the materials, right? So material testing IS code, separate code is in that one, the detailed procedures are there how to take a specimens, not only for this one. So anyone, if you want to test any material, their specimen take collection will be itself is a one separate specific procedure is there. So you have to follow that procedure, and you have to collect the specimens, right? And certain standard lengths are required, standard diameters, lengths. You have to maintain that whatever the standards that are specifications that are given in that follow. You have to follow the procedures. Then only will get the correct results, right? So this gauge length, you have to know the gauge length, everything. Of course, you are going to deal about in the material testing laboratory. You have one separate experiment on this one. Okay, so that's why we are not going to how to calculate the gauge length and etc. The specimen is mounted on a testing machine, universal testing machine. So if you are first initially it starts with the load 0, right, and gradually increase the axial tensile load. Of course, whatever the load we are applying, it is a axial load, means which axial load. What is axial load? Axial load is nothing but the load which passes through the uh, along the line of action of the force, along the centroidal axis of the member. Okay, so along the axis of the member, we can say simple terms. We can say along the axis of the member. Right, its axis means centroidal axis. As the load increases, the length of the specimen also increases. So this increase in length will be measured using extensometers, so which are attached to the specimens. So both ends of this there will be some extensometers are attached, which measures that how much length, how much elongation is taking place. Okay, so how much elongation is taking place between these two. So some instrument is measured. If it is increase in length is that, so on increases initially it will fix, so that it is pressed initially, so that if it is increases, it is also that here this length also increases. So that measures the how much elongation is taking place. If go on increase the load, how much elongation is taking place. So that's what the use of these extensometers, right? So they will measure the deformations, means how much change in length it is because of this external applied loads, applied tensile load, of course, right? The stress and strains, how to calculate stress and strains? Of course, in this experiment, what we are doing, we are not applying any stresses directly, right? We are not applying stresses. Stress is not applied directly. We are applying the loads on this one. So for a given load, so we have to calculate the how much of stress it is developed. For a load, what is the stress? For a different load, another what is the stress? Another load, what is the stress? So how to calculate the stress using the load? So as per basic our definition, mathematical expression, we have stress is equal to load by area. Stress is equal to load by area. So load, how much load we are applying, you put that load and divide by area. Area means what? Area means cross section area. Okay, cross section area. If it is any bar where generally it is circular bars, we use that cross section means cross section of a that layer that bar is nothing but pi by 4 d square. So d square is nothing but diameter of the bar, right? So that using that cross section area and what is the load applied on that particular stage. So we area means stresses are calculated. For each increment of the load, we have to calculate the stress. So first zero load, zero deformation. Of course, when the load is no load, so there will not be any deformations. When a load increase to first increment, then what is the deformation? Next second increment, what is the deformation? Next third increment, what is the deformation? At the initial stages, the up to certain length, up to certain point, the strains will be very, means deformation will be very less compared to its strain. Stresses will be more, whereas its deformation will be, even the load increments you are go on increase the load, so that deformations are very less. Okay, okay, that's why we are going to discuss about this during the curve itself, right? So initial increments, there will the deformations are less, okay, because its load carrying its capacity is more, especially for this material. Stress is equal to load by original area. Original area means, what is original area? Original area means in this mild stress system, what happens is initially it is when you are putting a specimen, it will be circular in shape, so that it will be pi by 4 d square area will be there. After certain point is reached, just before the failure, so there will be some sort of reduced area is reduces. Okay, some sort of elongation due to continuous elongation. Some place it is some area reduces. Okay, drastically reduces. So that is just like it is a cone of conical shapes it forms. So that is nothing but coning we call it. So that because of that one, so it will area will be reduced. So that's why it is the wherever we are for, whereas for calculation point of view, initial point of view, stress calculation is equal to load by original area, right? So where you have to take that necking area, that I will later I will discuss about it. Next, strain is equal to, we know that change in length by original length. Original length is nothing but gauge length. That's what it is. How much we are taken the gauge length, that we have to take. To get the gauge length also, there is some equations are there. So gauge length is equal to some formula is there as per IS formula based on this diameter. When the diameter increases and gauge length also increases, how much we have to take, that is a ratio. Some ratio is there. That will be there in the testing procedures. So draw the stress strain. Of course, once you calculate your, let us say you are started the experiment with 0 and you are going to increase the load, let us say at regular intervals, not at a time. Sudden increments shall not be there. So regular continuous improvement is there at regular intervals. You have to standard intervals you have to maintain. First you apply load, you have to wait for a certain time. Let the complete deformation takes place. When the deformation stops, so then you take the deformation, how much this change in length, you observe it in the extensor meters, then go to the second increment, next third increment, fourth increment, like that you have to go on apply the load until it fails means it will breaks into two pieces. Okay, that where mild steel specimen breaks into two pieces. Up to that point you have to go on apply the loads, and same way at the same time you observe the what is the strains. Note down the strains means strains means change in length, right? So knowing the change in length and load increments, calculate the stress and strain, right? Once you know the for all the load increments and deformations you are have, now calculate the stresses and strains. Once we calculate, after calculating stress and strains, now draw the plot, draw the stress versus strain graph. So in where we have to take stress, where you have to take strain, that is nothing but on the x-axis we have to take the strain, and in y-axis you have to take the stress. So x-axis strain, y-axis stress, right? So that is the basic procedure we are at. So on the x-axis you will take the strain, and the y-axis you will take the stress, right? By plotting the stress values on y-axis and the strain values on x-axis, right, you have to draw the graph. The resulting stress strain diagram will be as shown below. So these are some standard stress strain curve for the mild steel specimen, right? Now in this one, let us right? So in this one, it is initially zero increments are there. Zero load means zero stress. Zero stress means I zero strain. So obviously it starts from the origin, right? So for increase in strain, increase in the load, again stress will increases and strain also increases at the same time, right? So let us say we are reached the first point here. Let us say this point we are calling it as limit of proportional. To some cases it is termed it as it is referred as a L, right? Some other next one is nothing but elastic limits. Second point, elastic limit. Of course, later I will discuss the first what is elastic limit of proportionality importance. So limit of proportionality is nothing but up to the point, theoretically up to which point the stress and strains are stress is proportional to strain, right? So up to this point, stress is proportional to the strain, right? So your Hooke's law is generally valid up to what point? When the stress is proportional to strain, that is Hooke's law. Okay, up to what point we have discussed elastic limit, not limit of proportionality. Now I will discuss about what is the difference between elastic limit and proportionality. Actually, it is stress is proportional to the strain up to limit of proportionality only, not elastic limit. Right? Why we are considered that elastic limit in Hooke's law? Then I will discuss. So it is elastic. Now come to the elastic. If go on increase the load, so we'll go to the one point that is nothing but elastic limit. So where is the elastic limit? What is the elastic limit? The importance of the elastic limit is that if you remove the load up to this point B, that is nothing but elastic limit. So generally termed as elastic E. So up to this point, elastic limit, if you remove the load, so it will comes to its original shape. Means it attains its original shape. Okay, so that is what the importance of elastic limit. If you remove the load, it will comes to its original position, original shape, right? So there will not be any change in shape, will not be there. Okay, there will not be any distortion or change in shape will be there. It will regains its original shape, right? So that's what the elastic limit importance. But in practical, what happens is that the difference between in practical in stress strain curve, the elastic limit as well as limit of proportionality, they will be very closer points. Okay, not having much difference. So that's why it is most of the theoretical point of view. You will consider this elastic limit instead of limit of proportional. That's why we are discussing also in Hooke's law. We are defined as up to elastic limit. Yeah, the stress is proportional to that. Strictly speaking, it is up to limit of proportionality only. Okay, in the examination, competitive examination, if at all anywhere something asked about the question about it, so the stress is proportional to strain. The options will be limit of proportionality, yield point, lower yield point, upper yield point, breaking point, like no elastic limit is not given. So in that case, you have to choose the limit of proportionality, right? So generally, of course, they don't give both options. Don't think like that. Okay, so if at all they until unless if there is a mistake is there, they don't give the limit of proportionality and elastic limit at a time. They should not give, strictly speaking, right? So that is what the question framing will be like this. If it is only elastic limit is given, elastic limit of proportionality is given, then tick this elastic limit. If this is given and this is not given, then tick this one. Like that you have to. That is the importance of your limit of proportionality and elastic limit, right? So what is the limit of proportionality? The stress is proportional to up to this point. The stress is proportional to strain. Then what is the elastic limit? Elastic limit means if you remove the load, the body it gains its original shape. That is the important up to this point. Okay, not beyond this point. Up to this point, it will be so it will regain its original shape, right? As this A and B means limit of proportionality and elastic limit very closer points. Generally, we assume that equal to one another, right? In analysis point of view, or defining anything, any laws or strategy plans or principles, etc., right? That's what the important of this elastic limit, right? Now if you see, this is called as up to this point, E is nothing but we are calling it as a elastic range. Means if you remove the load, it will come to its original shape. Okay, that mild steel specimen come to its original shape, even though some deformation is there. Means change in length, how much it is there? Up to this point, it will increase the length. But if you remove the load, it comes to its original shape, right? One more thing, while drawing the stress strain curve, the curve shall be almost very close to this y-axis, not like this. Okay, not like this or like this. Okay, it shall be very close to, even it is indication point of it is given something, but it will be very close. Okay, and next come to this upper yield point. So upper yield point is, let us go to the limit of proportionality. These are the important salient points that is already there in the previous slide. The stress and strain curve is straight line up to point from O up to a point A. The point A is known as a proportional limit or limit of proportionality. So beyond this point A, the stress is no longer proportional to the strain. Okay, this is the actual, strictly speaking, this is up to this point only the stress is proportional to strain. And the next one is the elastic limit. It is indicated by point B on the elastic curve. So up to this point, the material exhibits property of elasticity. What is the material exhibits the property of elasticity? Means if you remove the load, the whatever the deformation, strain or deformation, that will disappear and the removal of the load, and it gains its original shape. Okay, that is nothing but elastic. This is a limit up to which the strain produced will disappear completely on the removal of the load. Completely means it gains its original shape. It can be noted from the curve that the strain is proportional to the stress between the points A and B. Right? Not proportional. Of course, it is not, strain is not proportional between A and B. Point A is the limit of proportionality, where the point B is the elastic limit. So in fact, the point A and B are so close for all practical purposes. Means if you draw a curve, you can able to identify it. It will be very close points. Okay, practical purpose, they can be considered to be one and the same. Right? So one and the same. They will be one and the same. Means because after this point, means how to identify this means just it is your straight line up to the what point your graph will be very straight line, forms a straight line. That point is nothing but limit of proportionality, right? And if the next one is, if you second one is elastic limit, like that it will be. Next third one will be upper yield point. So when a tensile load is further increases, the stress reaches yield stress. That is nothing but upper yield stress. Then material starts yielding, right? The strain increases more. What is the yielding? Strain increases more quickly for small increase in stress. Okay, even for small increase of stress, after this, what is elastic limit, what happens? The yielding starts. So the material starts yielding, means stress strain increases more quickly, means the deformation increases more, but increase in stress will be small increase in stress. Even small increase of stress, deformations are less. Means the x-axis, along the x-axis strain we are drawing. Means deformation will be more, but the increase in strain stress will be very less. That's what is called as yielding. Stress strain curve suddenly falls, showing decrease in stress. Means after this yield point, so this stress strain curve starts. What happens? Starts suddenly falls, showing decrease in stress. Okay, stress decreases, but still the strain increases. Okay, for small increment or some increment will be there strain, but the stress will be decreases. The curve starts falling from the point C. This point is known as the upper yield point. The point from which it starts downfall of the curve. Okay, that point we are calling it as the upper yield point. The curve falls from point C to D, the point D. Okay, between C and D, there is an increase in strain without increase in stress. You see, so C and D we are observed this point dropping, it is right. I will try quickly there. Okay, so this is nothing but your upper yield point, and this is nothing but lower yield point. Okay, so we are calling it as this is D and this is C, upper yield point, lower yield point. So between these C and C, even this strain increases, means whatever the strain increment is there between this is nothing but strain, increase in strain. Strain is increasing, but stress is in without increase in stress. Stress is not increasing, even it is decreasing. Okay, so this point is called the lower yield point. Okay, this point, lowest point in the lower yield point. Next one is strain hardening point. The stress is constant between the lower yield point D to the point E. Means up to certain extent, the stress will be constant, but strain increases. Okay, strain will be increasing, but stress will be constant. So that the portion between the after D up to a point, it will be constant, and that point we are calling it as a strain hardening point. Okay, between the points D to E, the stress is constant and strain increases. The point is called a strain hardening point. The stress increases with increase in strain beyond the point E. Beyond the point E, again the stress starts increasing with increase in strain. The portion of the curve beyond the point E is called the strain hardening range. Okay, beyond the point E is called a strain hardening point. Okay. Ultimate stress point. So the point F indicates the maximum load which can be placed prior to the breaking of specimen. The point F indicates the maximum load which can be placed prior to the breaking of the specimen. Means it is a maximum in the curve, it is the highest point. So on which you can, that indicates the maximum load before failure. Okay. So that point we are calling it the ultimate stress point or ultimate point. It is the maximum stress attained by the material. The stress corresponding to the ultimate load are known as the ultimate stress. Where ultimate load means maximum load in the curve that is applied, that is the curve. So that point here is nothing but ultimate load. So for example, if you take a curve, so this is point, right? So actually is downfall is there. Again one more, it is okay. So this point, topmost point is nothing but ultimate load point. Okay, ultimate point we can say, ultimate point, maximum topmost point, right? Again, if it is in actual our curve, it was shown that only this downward line, actually some more, one more line has to be drawn in that direction with the dotted line like this. Okay, because so what is this, what is this, what is the difference between? So this is going to the ultimate point, and last one is nothing but breaking point, this one. Okay, this is ultimate point U. Of course it is a terminology different here. So this is A, B, C, D, E, F. Of course, in this case, in our this one, it is the ultimate point is nothing but F. Okay, so right. So normally it is we call it as a ultimate point, and ultimate point means generally we use refer it as a using the term as a U. Right. So either this or this only value. So F is nothing but ultimate point. Right. And after that, now it is starts, what happens after this load ultimate point is reached. So what happens, there will be formation of neck, will be the necking will be formed. So what is necking is nothing but, so the wild state specimen, and initially it will be like a this shape of gauge length. Okay, let us say this is length is initially L, right? So but so it is, but after this point, so due to continuous we are applying load. So right, so it is continuously applying load. What happens at certain point between almost in the middle, around the middle portion, right, or wherever the weak portion among the entire length, wherever the weak portion is there. So what happens, right? So this is initially, this was the length, now it is increased because change in dimension is taken. So this one, what happens, it is somewhere it is between mid portion. So there will be some reduced area reduces. Okay, it will not fail suddenly like this. Okay, initially it will, there will be some reduced area reduction will be takes place, some sort of a neck. Okay, so some sort of a neck like this will be formed. One side it will be not this one. Okay, so and similarly other side. Right, so this is necking will be formed, right? This is after failure. So this is neck will be formed after this ultimate point. Okay, so if it in this, why it is two curves means, in one if this is nothing but if we take this original area into account, what is the stress we are calling it stress. If you draw the stress strain curve, stress is nothing but load by area. Load is nothing but load will be increases only, increase only load, we are continuously increasing. But what happened initially, if we take the original area, so it is nothing but original area is A. right? So this is virginal area. If you, what happens, it is virginal area means load is increasing, go on increase the load means it is increases like this. Okay, so if it go on even increase the load, there will be reduction in the stress. Okay, so that is nothing but your drop down. Okay, and whereas this one, second one is nothing but is why it is going upper one means nothing but if we take a, if we take a this area means it is reduced area, neck area instead of original area. If you take this reduced area, then obviously denominator will be low, lesser means no. So this is nothing but your stress. Stress means this will be lower means this will be higher. Okay, inversely proportional, right? The stress is inversely proportional to area. More the area, lesser the stress. Lesser the area, more or less stress. So that's why the stress is increases in this case of you take the this necking area means the reduced area, right? That's why it is two curves. Some most of the books will draw the two curves. Okay, one is like this, other dropping down, and the other one is going upwards, right? That's the importance of this one, right? Now it is last point, breaking point. After reaching ultimate stress, we can observe from the curve that the stress strain curve suddenly falls with a rapid increase in strain. Then the specimen breaks at the point G. The stress corresponding to breaking point is known as a breaking stress, right? So corresponding to last point, it is where it is cuts, breaks into two pieces, right? After like forming like a necking like formation. Okay, so that is of course whatever it is not exactly in actual practice, you cannot see, may or may not observe that much clearly about what is necking, everything. It is maybe very reduced area, little bit reduced area. Okay, but showing in elaborated way, it is generally we draw in other, but so that we can understand how it is forming like that, right? So this is about salient points of the stress strain curve. So what are the different salient points we have discussed? So we have discussed about the elastic limit, limit of proportionality, elastic limit, upper yield point, lower yield point, strain hardening point, and ultimate point, and last one is breaking point, right? So corresponding to elastic point, the stress yield elastic stress. Corresponding to yield points, we are called as the yield stress. And corresponding to ultimate point, we call it the ultimate stress. And corresponding to breaking point, we call it the breaking stress. Accordingly, we have to calculate the stresses, right? So this is about the stress strain diagram of this. Right now, let us go to the next topic, that is change in length of a body due to axial load, right? Change in length of a body due to axial load. Let us say if you, so let us say body is there like this, uniform body. For example, time being you observe this is you, let us take only uniform body having uniform size. Let us say load is applied here, right? So this is, let us say this is fixed on this one, so that it will not follows, right? It will not comes like this. And if you apply a load, let us say P load is applied, then let us say this is actually, if it is we are applying a tensile load means what happens, it is elongates means like this, it elongates, right? It's elongates. How much it elongates is nothing but it is delta L, and this is initial length is nothing but let us say it is L, capital L or small L, whatever it is, right? So this is change in length is nothing but delta L, and initial length is nothing but L, right? Okay, now from the mathematical equations we have discussed about the sometimes it is what is stress. So what is the stress? Stress is equal to load by area. Load by area, let us say this is area is A, right? Area is A, load by area, stress. And similarly strain is equal to, what is the formula we use? Delta L by L, delta L by L, that's what the we use from. And one more equation we have from Hooke's law, we got some one more equation from Hooke's law. So what is that? So Young's modulus E is equal to right? Young's modulus E is equal to stress by strain, right? Stress by strain. So if you substitute this stress and strain here formulas here, so what happens? It is P by A divided by what is this? Delta L by L. What happening? So denominator means go to numerator. So this is PL, right? So numerator denominator means goes to denominator. So again this will be denominator numerator means go to denominator. So this is nothing but A into delta L equal to E. Okay, this is all equal to E, right? From this one what we need, change in length means delta L. So delta L is equal to how much? So PL by AE. PL by AE from this one. From this one, it is E is equal to PL by A into delta L. If delta L goes to here, just E goes to denominator. So this is nothing but change in length is equal to PL by A. So if you want to calculate any this one, so delta L, so of any member which is loaded, which is axially loaded member. Of course, this is only for suitable for axially loaded members only, not for the other. So this one, change in length of a body due to axial load. So stress is equal to P by A and delta L is equal to PL by A. Of course, you see just right. Hooke's law, limit of proportionality. See here, Hooke's law in this correction we are saying that limit of proportionality, not elastic limit. You observe it, right? Yeah, just you see PL is equal to delta L by delta L is equal to PL by A. So what is delta L? Change in length. Of course, this is here. It is L shall be there, right? So it is nothing but L shall be there. So it is delta L. Delta L is a change in length. P is applied load. L is original length. A is the area of cross section, right? So using this formula, we have to calculate the change in length, right? Delta L by PL by delta E. Right. So this is about how to calculate the change in length for a member when it is axially loaded members. It can be, of course, it is not think, don't think that is only a compressive loads, I mean tensile loads, because we are axially applying the load. This is axially applied load means either compressive or tensile load, it is applicable. For both, you can use this formula to calculate the change in length or any other parameter out of these 5 parameters. If you know any 4 parameters, unknown can be calculated easily. Okay, use this formula to calculate unknowns, right? So in this case, it is P by A is nothing but stress, right? So this can be formula can be others. Some cases it is also we can multiply as P by A is nothing but stress. Sigma L by E also we can put like this. Also we can convert, modify the formula. Delta L is equal to sigma into L by E. Okay, sigma into L by E. Like this also we can convert, right? And if you want further, so what is delta L by L? Again, you take this term to this side. So delta L by L is equal to sigma by E. This is also another equation. So what is delta by L again? So delta L by L is strain. Strain is equal to sigma by E. This is nothing but Hooke's law. Okay. So like this, you can. We are same thing. We are derived this formula again. If you want accordingly the given in the problem, numerical problem, if you want to calculate unknowns, what it depends on the unknowns calculation required, which we want to calculate, you can modify the formula accordingly. Okay, that's the same wherever it is. We are derived from this formula to here, and again came back to this formula to the here back. Okay, so like this, we can use this formula to calculate the change in length for the axially loaded members. Right. Now let us summarize what we have discussed today. So we have discussed today about the different right and formula in less class they are discussed. Let us summarize the salient points features of the stress strain diagram of limit of proportionality. We have discussed elastic limit, upper yield point, lower yield point, and strain hardening point, ultimate point, and breaking point. These are the salient points. In the examination, you may go to questions on stress strain, draw the stress strain graph, show the salient points, and you may be asked to explain the salient points. Right, briefly explain about it. Right. So again, we have discussed the deformation in the body. That is nothing but in axial deformations. That is, we are derived a formula delta LP and delta L is equal to PL by AE. Okay. So like that. Hooke's law. What is Hooke's law? Stress is proportional to the strain. Right. Stress is proportional to the strain. So right. This is the strain. Tensile tests of the specimen will be conducted on compression testing machine, torsion testing machine, hardness testing machine, universal testing machine. What is the answer? So universal testing machine. Right, the stress strain curve is a straight line from a point O up to a point A is called a what point? Limit of proportionality, right? So that's why it is there is no elastic limit is not given intentionally, right? Now, so what we are discussing, of course, already we are discussing in last class. So draw the stress strain diagram and explain the salient points. Okay, so this is about stress strain diagram, and today's let us stop here.